So good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining today's webinar. We really appreciate your time, and we have an exciting agenda for you today, and I'm really pleased to be hosting this webinar and talking to our guest speaker, Vijay Premkumar, who is the Senior Manager of Cloud and Platform Engineering at American Airlines. So Vijay, I just wanted to say welcome and thank you for joining us here today.
Good morning, everyone. Greetings, Caroline. Thank you very much for having me here.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to hearing the story. And today we're going to focus on American Airlines DRM migration strategy and how that has really taken flight with Zerto. But before we do that, I just wanted to make sure in the fact that we're all on the same page as to what Zerto can offer you, because as I looked at the registration, I saw that the fact that there are a lot of existing customers, which is welcome, as well as also new customers, new prospects, and also business partners. So we've got a wide range of an audience here today. So I just wanted to make sure in the fact that we understand, our vision and what our vision is, and that we know that, as you from IT have many different challenges that you're actually faced with, from whether it's ransomware or solving for the ransomware crisis that we have, as well as also looking at cloud and how do you actually migrate to cloud, or you may already be in the cloud, or fundamentally looking at ensuring that you can protect your organization from any disruption. And so what's really important is, as you look at a vendor, and I hope all of those sort of Zerto customers that are out there in this audience can attest to this, is the fact that these challenges can be solved or addressed across the variety of platforms that you have today, or the variety of clouds that you may be looking at, or the models. But it's not only about today, it's also about the future proofing of what you may be looking at in the future. So, and you'll be hearing Vijay just shortly in the fact that how he was looking at Zerto today, but also looking at his plans for the future. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But we also hear that, there is the same sort of requirements that come up time and time again, starting first of all with that continuous availability and protection, regardless of where your applications might be running. And you can see here the expanse of, from your perspective, what you might have in your organization. And so what we want to ensure is the fact that if there is an issue, that you can recover quickly, so in a matter of minutes, not hours, and that you can do that at scale. The second thing too about recovery is, which is only part of the story, is about limiting the data loss. And again, you're going to be hearing about that in a moment too, which is absolutely vital, as you want to also ensure in the fact that the protection and recovery is centered around the applications themselves that you have in your organization. Now, almost every one of our customers, including American too, have some sort of requirement about hybrid and multi-cloud. And so it's important to have a solution that is not just bolted on, it's actually built, and truly designed from the ground up to support and enable wherever you are in your cloud journey. And that's exactly what we can do across private, public, and hybrid cloud, across whether it's SaaS, PaaS, or IaaS. And so we continue to deliver continuous protection for your business, and very importantly too, about keeping it simple. And so one of the things I want to make sure you understand is that, as we look at meeting your challenges, we are very, very laser focused on these three use cases, from ransomware resilience to disaster recovery and multi-cloud mobility. And you're going to be hearing from Vijay in just a second how they're using Zerto to deliver and achieve continuous protection for every app, every cloud, every threat that they may have. And it's all based on a foundation of continuous data protection. So I just wanted to make sure in the fact that we can also see the tremendous power of what Zerto can bring to the table. So let's now talk to Vijay. So Vijay, We're very excited to have you on board, and this audience is here to hear about your story. So maybe what we could do is start to talk about the business imperatives that you have at American Airlines.
Sure, Caroline. Again, thank you everyone for joining. So as you all know, American Airlines is one of the largest airlines in the world. And we are on an IT transformation journey, and we all wanted to know about it, right? Our primary focus is to operate at a customer first level. And to do that, we need to provide a very solid IT foundation so that business could, go showcase the capabilities of, how we could operate our customer at a first level and provide them a delightful experience. So thanks to our leader, Ross Clanton, about 3 years ago, he came with this amazing transformation vision and enabled leaders like me to go after new solutions and new markets with new technological advances that we could bring into American Airlines very successfully. That brought into an environment where we're striving to be always on business, and we constantly challenge the status quo and look into bringing in new solutions that will maximize IT innovation in our environment. Therefore, we provide a reliable, steady, and expandable and less hands on the keyboard effort. Thereby, our engineers can focus on a higher value chain that needed in a larger scheme of things. So this has been very successful journey last, about 3 years when we started this. We are modernizing most of our environment. We have, great tools and technologies coming to place, and Zerto is one of those, we onboarded about 9 months ago.
This is quite a journey that you're on, Vijay, and a lot of elements to it itself. So maybe as a start, as well as tell the audience a little bit about your IT environment at American.
Certainly, Caroline. So we have about 5 data centers spread across different regions within, US, and of the 5, 4 are hosting production workloads, vital and critical that serve the airline operations. And of the 4, some are paired like one-to-one, one-to-many. What I mean by that is, right, let's say data center A have workloads sitting from an application that could have pairing to data center C, or could be C and D, and vice versa too, right? So we had all those, like any large enterprise, all those complex mapping exist. So that's the landscape from the distributor of the applications in different regions and how they all, coexist and provide a very reliable IT operations, right? So if, let's say, in a worst case scenario, a DR event occurs in a region, we need to recover quickly and ensure our applications continue to function seamlessly. So that feeds to our, our primary objective to provide our customer a delightful experience. So in that, all those complex environment, constantly changing application and the business needs, we needed to have a very, solid IT foundation and also reliable DR strategy. And part of that was also to modernize our data centers. We went through the whole, the exercise of investing in our latest and highly reliable modernizing technologies in the data center. Part of it was bringing in tools like Zerto, solutioning our DR and quick to recover, less hands on the keyboard, more efficient way to provide our customers a delightful experience.
And so that helps to understand the environment and also some of the challenges, but maybe we can sort of delve a little bit further into some of those challenges that you were sort of, you have and that you were faced with, and then also, the use cases that you're using Zerto for.
Certainly, Caroline. So like most of the enterprises, right, we have a complex infrastructure, and in the past, to recover any of those, it's a time, bound effort. And like recently, in the last 3-4 months, we all heard in the news about the situation in the FAA, where most of the flights are grounded, and also one of our, distinguished competitor at a event during the holidays, right? So any one of those could derail operations and impact our customers, right? So that keeps us going. Always look for how do we avoid that? How do we ensure a worst case scenario could be quickly recovered? That's a challenge we all face in enterprise, just like American Airlines. Most of you guys, in your environment see it too, right? That's the first challenge. Second, so we had distributed multiple teams having different tool sets, and it's complex, somewhere siloed. So part of it to bring in efficiency, to bring in a consolidated solution, whereby we not just manage the cost and also reduce the complexity, make it easier, right? That goes back to my previous statement, modernizing it, make it less hands on the keyboard, more efficient in way we manage our IT infrastructure, right? And third, of course, is the consistent procedures, simplifying the execution process, relying on the high value chain of engineers focused on automation, right? The CI/CD pipeline, DevOps, all built into it. An application when it's deployed, irrespective of the data center it is, right? It has the DR components all embedded. The plumbing is in place. So if an event occurs, it seamlessly works through, and the end result is customer sees a great outcome, right? And also that comes in the question about the SLA, right? In the previous situations, to do any of those DRs, in fact, even the planned ones, it just take a time-bound effort. So with the new technologies that we brought in with Zerto, it's super fast, super quick, and very reliable, right? And of course, one of the challenges we were going through is the journey of modernization. We went to the HCI Greenfield solution. What it means is we need to move our VM workloads from the existing data centers to the centralized HCI. So again, the migration aspect, as we all know, the migration is a complex dependency with the application teams, coordination with the business, and also the time-bound effort, right? So that's another challenge we were facing it. Again, so the reason we have to go through this, come out of the aged, end of life hardware, get into the more modernized, reliable infrastructure.
Yeah, and I'm sure that a lot of the audience can actually relate to that. Is that primary need of ensuring that you're reducing the downtime and protecting your critical applications, so really delivering that continuous availability, and then the modernization aspect, which was absolutely critical. So what we'll do in a second, we'll delve into each one of those in a little bit more detail. So the two use cases primarily, which I guess we gave it away in the title, didn't we, Vijay? And the fact that the two primary use cases that you're using Zerto today for is disaster recovery and migration.
That's right, Caroline. These were two no-brainer. When our team
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I interrupted you there, Vijay. Did we? Okay, so we may have actually lost Vijay. So what we'll do, Vijay, is just dialing back in again. So just to confirm I'm not sure when exactly that we lost him, but to confirm that when American was actually looking at Zerto, one of the things that they looked at initially was that disaster recovery, and then very quickly were able to ascertain that migration was a key use case that they could actually leverage Zerto for as well. So what then we want to actually sort of talk about, as Vijay is about to come back on, is the evaluation process. And I think you rejoined us, Vijay?
That's right. My apologies. I have a quick disconnect of the phone.
Well, I guess it goes to show in the fact that we're live then, aren't we, Vijay? So, and these things happen.
So
So
yeah, thanks, Caroline. So yeah, so go ahead, sorry, go ahead, Caroline.
no, I was going to say, I just sort of said to the audience, and we gave it away in the title. So maybe what we could do is talk about a little bit about the before Zerto, what you were using before Zerto, and then actually what led you to Zerto and how the evaluation actually went. So maybe we could talk about the evaluation side of things.
Certainly, Caroline. Right. So first, prior to Zerto, uh, we used one of the other top industry solutions. Of course, I'm not going to name it. We all know it, what it is. Uh, it's reliable. It did what it's supposed to do. No challenge on what it was designed to do, right? But clearly, as I initially stated, we are very laser focused in our transformation journey. What it means is we want to have the superior, better, not just better, but the best technology possible, right? Completely modernized, less hands on the keyboard, highest SLA possible, and all this were our become our parameters when we choose our tooling, our solutions. So when we put that into our mapping, we clearly fully got awareness that what we were using for last 7, 10 years wasn't doing what we want to do in our transformation journey, right? That led us to Zerto. Now, Carolyn, if I could, I want to take back a little bit of the background, how this whole engagement started. If you could, okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you, Carolyn. So we are pretty much an HP shop for the longest time. So all update infrastructure has been HP for a number of years, right? So we have great partnership with HPE team. We have regular cadence with our HPE team, and I very vividly remember this. So in the month of April, Tyler Briggs, our account executive from HPE, met us on a regular cadence. He said, Vijay, recently HP partnered and acquired a company called Zerto. They have amazing technology from a DRs and migration perspective. And my immediate reaction to Tyler was, thank you, Tyler. No time. We are very busy. Clearly, we all know in IT environment, right? We have clear plan next 3 months, next 6 months, what we want to do. There is not much of wiggle room to bring a new solution. But Tyler again requested, if they give me 30 minutes, I bring my team, talk to them, then I let you decide. So that's how the first time when he brought in the name Zerto, first my reaction was, what is Zerto? Never heard about it, right? So he said, that's exactly the thing. It's a great solution. That's not, a lot of companies haven't, started to know about it, like yours, right? So my team initially had a one-hour session with Zeto's team, and when we saw this solution, what they were, providing, it clicked. It kind of, gelled with our journey into the modernization we were going in. We said, probably we should look into it. That was the, initial thought. And we also were clearly aware that we didn't have much of a time. We were in a, building our HCI Green Lake solution, a clear deadline to build it out and sunset the old infrastructure. It's a very tight deadline, and the commitment to our business, dependence to the application team, all came into the equations, right? So with a lot of reluctance, we agreed to have a 2-day POC session with Zerto team in Zerto's lab, showcasing what the product can do, how to set it up, from ground zero, and work through some of the test cases. Our engineers, told the Zerto team, this is all we want to test it out, right? So I want to highlight, Ethel from Zerto, fantastic. When he approached us, he simply approached with an objective of educating my team. Every bit of it is about, making sure American Airlines engineers understand all possible scenarios, the capabilities, and what's happening in the current, uh, in the landscape of the IT infrastructure, how companies are, using the technologies in a very efficient, right? So to me, that was very important because we all in IT, we get locked down into this is what I know. We're busy with these things. We know what these roadmaps are, right? There's not much wiggle room to look for new things in a very broader way. So Ethel came with a perspective, helped us with educating, enabling us with better information. So that was a game changer. From that 2-day POC, we agreed to do a complete, 30-day trial license POC in American Airlines lab environment. So about 6 of our engineers were involved in this, testing that full-blown solution. And guess what? Although we gave 30 days, by 7th day, my team came back with a 30-page PDF doc with complete tested solutions, validations, and all things that we've encountered in the past, and all things that we want to tighten our environment. In 7 days, the engineers came with completely tested and came with an amazing outcome of the result in the lab what they saw. So that's when I said, you know what, this looks great, but clearly still time was an issue for us because we were on a tight time deadline to migrate. And as we all know, to get in a new solution in a large enterprise like ours, we have to go through the paperwork, the tech board approvals, IT vendor management, budget, allocation, all the complex comes apart from just, buying the solution, right? So we had to work through a very speedy process to get through all this paperwork within American. And this is where I want to highlight and emphasize the partnership what Zerto brought in. The accounting was lockstep with American Airlines. Every, journey, right? Part of every journey, right? So that made this entire paperwork transaction quicker, faster, and efficient. So in all said, from April when the first time I heard at Zerto last year, and in 90 days, we had the paperwork done, we get the PO issued. Of course, we did the POC done in the lab. We got the license keys, delivered, and we had the configuration of the multi-data center, implemented. All these things happen 90 days. It's completely unprecedented. We've gone through several solutions, several technologies in the environment. We all know that it is complex, it is time-bound process, but when two parties with the like, intensity, right, team members working together, the magic can happen. So to us, this, the Zerto relationship was something of that nature. It was purely magical, and we were able to get this done in a very efficient way.
So there are two pieces to that, isn't it? Is obviously the partnership between Zerto and American Airlines, well, HP, Zerto and American Airlines, but also the solution itself, because it proved what it could actually do very, very quickly. And actually, we've got a timeline slide here, and we'll come back to future opportunities in a moment, but I think this is quite applicable since you were talking about timeline, because this just helps sort of show to the audience the timeline that and the steps that you actually went through. And I think you also have some further information here too.
Yeah, this is a very interesting data point, right? So as you all see here, the first conversation in April. So while even before the conversation, we had a roadmap like on the modernization, right? So our original target was by December 2023, we'll have the complete infrastructure built out with CI, and we'll have the DR solution, which we have been using for the last 7-10 years, coming into the place with all our complex VMs, workloads of varying size will all be migrated. So that was our roadmap we gave to our leaders within IT and commitment to our business and our application team, right? We said December 2023. We will be completing this project. Then Zerto came into the discussion, and then we pivoted using Zerto. As you could see in the timeline, right? We have within the first 90 days, we have the Zerto solution implemented in all our 4 production data centers, right? Then we started migrating our VMs in our non-prod and stage environments. So all those things, about close to 900 VMs in 30 days, we got it done, right? That's something fantastic effort before the holidays. Then when we started to work through this timeline again, we said, we really don't have to wait until December. The new timeline at the pace we were migrating, we could, we're looking at currently completing a migration by end of March or by close to mid of April. Very confident. This is the new data that we have provided to IT leaders. They'll be able to achieve this. Complete our IT commitment on the modernization, like 7-8 months ahead of what we committed to our business. A fantastic data point here, right?
Yeah.
And this is only possible. Yeah, this is only possible because the migration solution was Zerto provided, one of its kind. Obviously, our engineers have been, one of the best in class in what they do from infrastructure, from the, the virtualization technology. When they came across this Zerto's migration, it blew away the entire IT landscape in such a way that, man, this is just, amazing. So that's how we could get to this timeline. And we all know, in a large enterprise, we committed time, most of the time, we then ask for an extension. But in this case, we committed time, were able to get it done, way ahead, like 7-8 months ahead. So that's something, a story that we are very proud of.
Yeah, that's a significant time difference and acceleration, which obviously is opening up opportunity to continue other projects as well. So that's absolutely awesome. So maybe what we could do is I'm sure the audience would like to know take a look at the DR project itself and the migration project. And so maybe we could talk a little bit more about the DR project and some of the results that you're seeing within that now that we've seen the timeline. So maybe take a look at the actual DR project.
Sure, Caroline. So of the 2,000 plus VMs, the 560 are, the DR rated VMs. And it took us less than 30 days to deployment, as you saw on the previous slide, right? And the most the beautiful thing is the RPO aspect. We could have this RPO done in 6-9 seconds. Like previously, it's taken at least 15 plus minutes to to have this, right? And also, when we went through this implementation, we had a very good relationship with Zerto team. We got into their professional services quick start service, and they were embedded with our team in the initial POC. And then when we were configuring our production data centers, we only did just a little bit of guidance because the tool was self-explanatory, easy to, it's more like a plug and play, and it worked without any complex, configuration. So that was very easy. That made our implementation smoother, and also a confidence level that we could fast track the DR implementation and give that message out to our application business team.
But I think it can be a good best practice, though, can't it, Vijay, to engage with the Zerto professional services as a sort of a quick start service, because, as you say, you very quickly, and a lot of what we do is knowledge transfer. So it's about getting you up and running as fast as possible so that you can be self-sufficient. And I think that's what we achieved there.
Absolutely, Karen. I think that was, a great, engineering solutions team members from Zerto, embedded with our team. Fantastic. Again, it goes back to my previous statement, right? It is about education.
Yeah.
It's focused about education, empowering and enabling, right? So that's something very important. It's not like, if you have a secret sauce, we won't tell you what it is. You do what I say. It was more about, we'll educate you, we'll enable you, we'll empower you, that your team can be self-sufficient and be the master of your environment.
Yeah. And so let me ask you, Vijay, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot here, but the 6 to 9 seconds to me it sounds phenomenal. And you mentioned just a minute ago that your typical RPO previously was minutes. So were you pretty surprised and at how the 6 to 9 seconds of RPO that you were getting with Zerto?
Initially, when I heard, I said it's unbelievable. Then when we tested it out, this becomes more realistic, right? So again, this is a planned DR. We could get it done, right? And then when I was talking to the engineer, okay, tell me the secret. How is it possible? It cannot be such, day and night difference, right? So then that's when the secret sauce of Zerto comes into play. How it has the ability to have the the replication done in advance, right? And have the actual DR happens in a very smooth and easy way. That's why the RPO becomes so super high number.
Right. So that sort of speaks to the DR project. Maybe what we could do is sort of move over to the migration, because this is quite phenomenal as well, some of the results that you were seeing and what you were trying to do. So could you walk us through the migration project as we see here?
Sure. So just to on that context, Caroline, so when we say migration here, like I previously mentioned, we have to move our VMs sitting across 4 different data centers, migrate into our modernized CI into 2 data centers. So some of the VMs are like there were 2,000 plus VMs, and the average time, depending on the size of the VMs, they were varying from, as you can see in the screen, that we called out 2 of the complex and larger VMs, right? Of course, there's many were smaller, but the average time was about 3 to 5 hours is what we estimated per VM to migrate. I'm just saying this is the average time, right? Some could be 20 minutes, and could be taking 5 hours, right? Again, this number was what we calculated when we initially designed the project with the older solution. That's when the timeline was December 2023, right? So when we came to know about Zerto's migration tooling, right, then when we started to do our POC and then the implementation, the whole math changed. So now the average time from 3 to 5 hours become 10 to 15 minutes per VM, including the largest VMs, what you see in the screen, right? So that means we could move more VMs in a given change window than previously what we thought possible, right? So as we all know, in an enterprise, we have a defined change window, especially, it's early hours, we only get a couple of hours, right? We got to get an application team's commitment, business buy-in, and schedule it and do the workload migration, right? So bottom line is, with the way the migration was embedded and the speed at which it could do, including the larger VMs, we're able to do like 100 VMs per change window instead of just 20 per week, right? So what it means is, mathematically, we could complete all those in 20 weeks instead of 1 year that was originally what we planned out.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's phenomenal. Hence why the whole acceleration that we talked about at the when we looked at the timeline. And then again, you also to help start and kickstart the process, use some of the professional services too.
Absolutely, right. So initially we said, let's get the PS engagement going. Thereby, our engineers get the full support and guidance and education, right? Very important to us, right? To make sure we are educated, right? So again, it was great relationship. The best solutions engineers were part of our team's engagement, and so their inputs were very valuable. That's one of the reasons this migration, implementation, and execution was all so smooth and faster.
Excellent. So We talked about the DR and the migration, so maybe what we could do is sort of summarize up a little bit as to, and we've talked through this as you've been going through the slides and doing an excellent job here, but maybe summarize up what, the why Zerto at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Yeah, certainly, Caroline, right? Like as I've been saying, right? It started with the relationship. So when you have a account team that is focused on education, focusing on enabling, focusing on empowering the customers, that brings a different, paradigm shift in how we operate things. I want to thank Zerto and HP team for that, right? Right from the pre-sales to sales to the POC support and the solution engineering professionals, right? They all were very professional and they really, ensured every member of American Airlines involved in this project are educated and enabled with complete knowledge. Therefore, our team can be self-sufficient in future, right? So that's very, very important because we all know there are tens and hundreds of new solutions, new technology come into the market, always better than what we all know previously, right? But clearly, enterprise like us, we do not have the time factor to go after everything possible and make a change immediately or in a time-bound process, right? So there is where the very important element comes in, the human factor. How the account team, embeds and works with the customers like us, right? When Zerto and HP approached, they never, not once, came with, we want to sell you Zerto product because we like to sell you. That was not the case. And Tyler and Ether and Mark, Alan and Tanya are great examples, right? These are the account team that, Zerto and HP, right? They only approach it, what, we completely respect what you guys are going through with the tight schedule, tight budget, with commitment to the transformation journey, but allow us to educate you guys. Allow us to, help you, see the complete picture, right? But that's the human factor that was a game changer to us, right? So technology is one thing, it's given, important. That's why we all here. And beyond the technology, the human factor, the relationship, what makes in IT a successful one.
So I will make sure in the fact that if the account team are not on the call today, that they will get the recording and can hear the accolades, because I think that's absolutely wonderful. So they'll be really pleased with that. One thing that I did want to mention, I mean, you're right. I mean, there is the people, the partnership side of things between HP, Zerto, and American Airlines. So effectively, yourself and your team. And we talked about the sort of the DR and the migration that you're using Zerto for today, but there are some other sort of future requirements that you've started to look at, or maybe maybe you could share a little bit about sort of some of the potential future direction that you're considering Zerto or the discussions.
Certainly, Caroline. So, as we continue to modernize our infrastructure and also in the cloud, right? We have workloads continue to move to the cloud, right? So Zerto has some solutions, especially on the Kubernetes and also the backup and recovery, the ransomware, right? Any one of those we continue to see as an opportunity. Just about a couple of weeks ago, one of our team that specializes in the Kubernetes, we had a working session with Zerto team, right? So we're clearly keeping our opportunities open, right? We do talk to as many possible solutions in the market these days to keep ourselves clearly be aware what's happening. And with Zerto's relationship, we already have with an HPE. So we certainly come to you guys if something that you have in your offering that we want to consider. We will work with your team to see how that can be beneficial to both of us, right? So Kubernetes is one of those, ransomware is the second one, right? So, so all those things, quite possible. Yes, in cloud.
I think that goes to, my point earlier is the fact that looking for a solution that not only addresses your current environment and the challenges that you might have, but as you're sort of future proofing to ensuring the fact that we could come along with your journey to, where you're going to. So that was a key point. So I'm sort of just wondering whether, and we added this because when you and I were talking, it was, an emphasis, and I think, and I put here a hidden benefit because I think that was probably something that came out of all of this. And I think it's a really important part as we look at an organization's infrastructure is that modernization piece. So maybe you could just speak to this from your perspective.
Yeah, definitely. So like you all saw, right? We were able to preempt our time from December 2023, April 2023, right? That's about 7-8 months of gain. So it's not just a time, tremendous gain of time. The hidden benefit is, right, we could, sunset those aged, end of life, coming to end of life hardware quicker than what we, originally thought, right? That means there's a cost benefit, the simplification, right? So that's something we don't talk much. We focus on time, efficiency, but hidden benefit is the getting now away from the old infrastructure is one thing, right? And of course, right, the other side of the the equation is the journey, the new way of doing things, right? How that is making our the IT infrastructure with modernized. Going back to my original statement, providing a customer delightful experience, right? So event will occur. There's always going to be the weather. There's going to be a regional related DR. Things will happen and IT will, like many companies, right? We will go through circumstances. But when we have a solution like Zerto, into our environment, we are more confident that we could recover faster, quicker, efficiently than what we previously had, right? So something that we cannot quantify it. It's just a benefit that we will enjoy it.
Excellent, excellent. So Vijay, that was great, and hopefully you can stay on for a few more minutes so that we could take just maybe a couple of questions that have actually come in. But I did just want to summarize for the audience, bearing in mind in the fact that we have a mixed audience here, that when you're thinking about Zerto and HP, and you've heard a lot from Vijay in the fact that there is the disaster recovery that they were implementing to ensure that they can mitigate any disaster, such as whether it's hardware, natural, power outages, and so forth, as well as also having a solution in place that can help them from a recovery perspective as you look at neutralizing some of the ransomware threats that are certainly out there. And then I think you've heard significantly from Vijay too, with regards to driving new operational efficiencies. We've heard a lot about the migration side of it and what they've been able to do. So you can see how Zerto has actually helped American and how perhaps we could actually help you. Now, certainly the initial installation with American has been on-premise, but and migration from on-prem to on-prem. But as we've just talked about, and Vijay's just mentioned, in the fact that in the future there is that need of thinking about microservices and moving to Kubernetes perhaps, and Zerto and HP can help you with that as well. And also, once you're in the cloud, to be able to help support from a cloud perspective. And then, of course, Vijay's talked about the whole modernization side of it. So whether or not you in your organization have an aggressive M&A strategy where you may be actually bringing in new, existing infrastructure from the acquisition and you want to migrate it and consolidate it, we can help you with that. Or just as what American is doing is the fact of just migrating, and not just, but updating new hardware, new software, and migrating applications over. So think on the additional use cases potentially that Zerto can actually help you with. And I'll just leave you sort of with this one slide and the fact that thinking about why Zerto and why now. It's about that continuous protection for any cloud or any app, any cloud, any threat. The ability to ensure that you are protecting your brand from any type of disruption, neutralizing those ransomware threats, modernizing infrastructure, and so removing the complexity around that to capitalize on new technologies within your organization. And then, of course, as you're ready and based on your cloud journey, is really ability to unlock that multi-cloud or hybrid cloud strategy, whatever that might actually be. And then, as you've heard from Vijay, simplifying the migration process. I mean, it's phenomenal when we think about that 20 weeks versus, basically a year. So a huge amount of reducing the sort of the resources and also the ability to speed up and accelerate the consolidations. And then, of course, improving that overall operational efficiency within your organization. And I think you've seen how Zerto's enabling that for American Airlines. And so with that, maybe what we could do is just take a couple of questions. And I do have Kevin on my team, who's the technical director. And I know you've been monitoring the Q&A, so I don't know, Kevin, if there was if I can just bring you on for a moment, any questions that, or maybe I can try and get access to them as well.
Yeah, this is a question for Vijay. The attendee is wondering what parameters you had in mind. What were your evaluation criteria when you were first looking at Zerto?
Good question, Kevin. So, right, so first when we, went to Zerto, right, our information was limited. We only know what the previous tool could do, right? Hey, can we have, SLA at least 15 minutes? Hey, can the configuration all be done before, 1 year time frame? Can we migrate, all those things by December 23, right? So those are the limiting factors we had. And when we said this to Zerto team, they said, we will show you we can do it all, much faster and quicker. And that's where the POC revealed that, right? So from that's the, the higher level information, right? From a nuts and bolt technology perspective, right? The two things that was very important to us, as much, we liked the previous solution we had, we all knew it was complex. It was not easy to maintain. And third, most importantly, very, very difficult to configure. But we lived through it because we thought that's the standard. That's what it is, right? So when Zerto came in with their offering, first it was unbelievable. You mean it's just a plug and play, so easy? This more look at marketing. Then my team, when they took over the environment, they did that on their own in the lab. It was not just a marketing information, it was a realistic, right? So to us, that was a parameter, that was a game changer. Because in the previous solutions, when our engineers, used to do it, it's really time bound. It takes, not days, weeks, and still we needed to melt to make it working. In Zerto, it was more like, quick start, implement, boom.
So another question, you've touched on this a little bit, but this attendee is wondering how Zerto has improved your approach to disaster recovery testing.
So when we were, that was one of the very important things. First again, right? I know I briefly spoke about it, but I want to re-emphasize, right? To us, the DR was a very sensitive and a very important element we need to be, clear about on our ask, right? Because we have been using a solution for more than 7-10 years, right? The appetite was not there, not just from the engineers, also from our leadership and to the application, right? Because when we say DR, it's not about the infrastructure, It's the application sits on it that needs to, embed it seamlessly more, right? And there was a lot of reservation. Yeah, we have been using this last 7, 10 years. It works, right? Now you want to bring in a new solution with the great story, great success that what you saw in POC. Let's think about it. It's even worth it, right? That's the kind of conversation we had, right? With a lot of debate went in. What if scenarios? How true this is going to be, right? So we went through all those, scenarios, discussions, what if conditions, right? That's when, the kudos goes to my entire engineer, right? Um, um, Scott Allen, Ken, Errol, Daniel Simpson, Todd Dunstan, Rob Ivy, right? They went full blown on this, right? They want to ensure that this is real. This is not just, it just works in a lab or just, does in one or two environment, right? They went full blown testing in a multi-site, which I talked about, right? One to many, one to one. We had a lot of complex, configuration or DR plumbing, right? So they went through testing all those things, and they said, you know what? There is something to this we can consider, right? So that's the kind of thing Kevin went through it. If it was not like, we like it, we buy it. It's more about behind the scene, the effort our engineers and also, of course, Zerto team were able to walk, step by step, empower us with educating the team, right information.
And this one is referring back to when you were talking about HPE and the deep relationship you have with HPE. They're wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how you're using HPE GreenLake and your experience there.
Yeah, certainly. So prior to even to HPE GreenLake, like I mentioned, we are HPE shop. Pretty much all our blade infrastructure HPEs, right? Spread across 5 different data centers, including the production ones, right? Again, we all know, like most traditional company, we were in the capex model. We buy hardware, refresh it, end of life every 3, 5 years, depending on the models and the timelines and etc., right? With GreenLake, it becomes a private cloud in our data center. And we move from our capex, hands on the keyboard, heavily engineered solution to, OpEx model, where we could, just like in a cloud, in a public cloud, whether it's Azure or AWS, right, or Google GCP, using a data center like a cloud where you could, based on your capacity needs, you could burst and use the compute available that obviously you predefine it what's maximum possible, but you can have a minimum commit and use the compute available, right? So then you unlock your engineers to go after new solutions, new technology, new value chain proposition instead of worrying about the lifecycle management, the maintaining the hardware, the firmware updates, the patching. So clearly all those workloads goes away. You let our utility provider HPE, the GreenLake solution it, while our engineers focus on the high value chain, right? So that's how, from a legacy capex model of buying the blade infrastructure, moving to HPE's GreenLake, we move from our capex to OpEx and decouple the operational aspect. So our engineers focus high value, while the lifecycle management and everything else becomes the part of the utility model.
And I'll share, I think you know this, Vijay, but I'll share with everybody else on the call. Later this year, you're going to see Zerto get added to HPE GreenLake. It's going to be a service on their GreenLake cloud platform called HPE GreenLake for Disaster Recovery. So I encourage you all to stay tuned. We're going to have some big announcements about that later this year. I think we have time for maybe one or two other questions. There's one here around.
I was just wondering, and maybe you're going there, Kevin, I don't know, but I was just sort of thinking for also the audience, because I know in the fact that, Vijay, you're very heavily invested into HP, but there could be a lot of, and we have been acquired by HP, as you know, but we support any, we are storage and hardware agnostic, and I think that's an important part. So, as we recognize within an enterprise, you're going to have different solutions. And so I just wanted to add that in, Kevin, because I just want to make sure people understand that too.
Yeah, there's some questions around the storage agnostic part, and do we require specific storage? And I think Vijay, your point about, like most companies, you have a hardware refresh cycle. Sometimes you're using disparate arrays. Maybe your DR site has slightly different storage than production. So Zerto being able to replicate between them, no matter what the configuration is, no matter what the arrays are, I think there's a lot of value in there. I don't know if you have something to add.
Yeah, that's a very good point, right? I think the question was great about storage. That's where the sweet spot lives, right? So yes, so in our case, similarly, right, we have multiple different storage solutions. Again, some are complex, like I talked about. We are silo teams doing different technologies, right? So coming into Zerto, specifically HP GreenLake, then using Zerto, all became seamless. We moved to a modernized storage as well, right? The migration aspect was, Zerto was agnostic. It didn't bother whether coming from EMC or the RPAs we have, to the vSAN, none of this mattered, right? We took care of it seamlessly. That's the beauty of it, agnostic to underlying storage. Zerto worked.
Beautiful. And you're right, I think, Kevin, and certainly Vijay, we're sort of coming up to the top of the hour. So I did want to say thank you very much, Vijay, for taking the time today, spending the time with us and sharing the American Airlines journey and how you're using Zerto for disaster recovery and also migration, and hopefully in the future, leveraging additional capabilities in use cases. So thank you so much, and thank you for your partnership as well.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Zerto team, and thank you, audience. It was great, talking to you all.
Excellent. And I know that there were some more questions we didn't get to. We will be sending out, we will answer them, so we've got them listed. And we will send out, there will be an on-demand, so if you wanted to share this presentation out later, as well as also the presentation. So thank you for attending and appreciate everybody's time today. And thanks, Kevin, for helping to facilitate the Q&A. So thanks again, Vijay. Thanks, everybody. Great to talk with you.